For nearly a century, the history of high-altitude mountaineering was recorded through a singular lens. The records of the great Himalayan peaks were written by Western adventurers, who were consistently framed as the primary heroes of every major ascent. But the logistics of these climbs relied on local Nepalese guides. These men were treated as anonymous labor, tasked with hauling equipment and fixing ropes for Westerners, remaining in the background of official narratives. This hierarchy stood until 2012, when a British Special Forces member began a series of climbs that would eventually dismantle the established order of the mountains. That man was Nirmal Purja. Despite his later dominance in the Himalayas, Purja grew up far from the peaks, in a region where high-altitude climbing was not a part of daily life. Pursuing these summits required more than physical endurance. It meant challenging who was actually credited in the record books for the work done in the death zone. Born in Dana, Purja spent his childhood in the tropical flatlands of Chitwan. His family lived in such severe poverty that he recalls growing up without even basic footwear. He escaped that environment by joining the British military, eventually becoming the first Gurkha to pass selection for the Special Boat Service, the Royal Navy's most elite Special Forces unit. While trekking to Everest in 2012, Purja realized he possessed a rare physiological trait. Even in the thinning air of the high Himalayas, his body continued to rapidly absorb oxygen and recover at speeds far exceeding other elite climbers. Purja eventually chose to resign from the military and walk away from a guaranteed pension, betting his entire future on the belief that his physiology could sustain a record-breaking career. His military discipline and unique biology created a specialist capable of operating in the world's most hostile environment with tactical precision. In 2019, Purja announced Project Possible. He intended to climb all 14 8,000-meter peaks in a single season, a feat he later claimed was more a challenge of logistics than of physical climbing. To even reach the first base camp, he had to overcome massive financial hurdles, including selling his own home to provide the initial funding for the expedition. He also faced a diplomatic impasse. Shishapangma was closed to all foreign climbers, requiring Purja to use military-grade diplomacy to convince the Chinese government to grant his team an exclusive permit. Despite his focus on speed, Purja risked his project to assist others. On Annapurna and Kangchenjunga, he led high-altitude rescues of stranded mountaineers, sacrificing their team's limited oxygen supplies to save lives. This chart shows the scale of the challenge. The previous world record for summiting all 14 peaks stood at 7 years. Purja completed the entire circuit in just 6 months and 6 days, reducing a 7-year timeline to 189 days.
To increase the visibility of local climbers, Purja adopted the moniker Nimsdai, meaning Big Brother Nims. This branding was an intentional effort to center Nepalese talent in the global media. He successfully used a viral photo of Everest overcrowding and a global Netflix documentary to ensure that the international climbing community recognized the expertise of Nepalese guides. His movement reached its peak in 2021, during the first-ever winter ascent of K2. This mountain was the last of the world's highest peaks that had never been reached during the winter season. Purja led a collaborative, all-Nepali team to the top. They reached the summit together, with Purja completing the climb without using any supplemental oxygen. This summit push established the all-Nepali team as the world's leading high-altitude specialists, ending the historical era where local guides functioned only as support for foreign glory. Purja leveraged his success to build a global brand. He founded the high-end guiding company Ilik Exped and grew an audience of millions of followers on social media. As the primary representative of modern Nepalese mountaineering, his personal conduct and business practices began to face intense international scrutiny. In 2024, that legacy was challenged by institutional media reports. Major outlets, including the New York Times, published detailed accounts of sexual harassment allegations against him, claims that Purja denied, but which resulted in his sponsors terminating their contracts. His professional reputation faced further pressure from public disputes over alpine safety, including allegations that safety ropes on Mount Everest had been sabotaged by his competitors. On July 30, 2026, Purja was reported missing following a massive avalanche on Pakistan's Broad Peak. GPS trackers showed a sudden drop into the debris field, marking an abrupt end to his active climbing career. Despite the controversies of his later years, Purja's impact on the sport is documented by the records. A boy who grew up without shoes in the flatlands of Nepal,
forced the world to acknowledge the names of the Nepalese climbers who truly lead the way in the Himalayas.